If you can show up in whatever CEO group you're in and become part of the board, become part of a forum, become part of a committee, you'll get a lot more out of it because it also challenges your leadership skills to be a leader of your peers, right? Now you're not leading people that report to you that have to say yes. You're leading a whole bunch of other CEOs as well. So it's really, really critical. Today, we're going to talk about how CEOs, entrepreneurs, can get the most out of a mastermind community. And by mastermind communities, there are a ton of them out there. I've also been a member of a lot of them over the last 25 years. So I'm going to walk you through my experience, but also how you can get the most out of being in any mastermind community you're in. I also run a mastermind community that's only for COOs called the COO Alliance. I also run one called the Ops Spot, which is an online community only for people in operations. So I have a lot of experience that I'm going to draw on. You'll get at least 5 big tips on how you can get the most out of whatever mastermind community you're in. And by mastermind communities, these could be things like YPO, EO, which is the Entrepreneurs Organization, Vistage, Genius Network, Baby Bathwater, War Room, GoBundance, Mastermind Talk, Strategic Coach. There's a lot of groups out there you can be a part of. And just to give you a frame of reference as well so that you know where I'm speaking from on all this stuff, I've also been a member of a lot of these groups. I was a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization for 5 years, and then I've been paid to speak now to EO chapters in 28 countries. I have spoken to YPO chapters in 10 countries. I was the highest rated speaker 2 years in a row for Vistage, and I spoke at 17 of their all-city events and their executive summits, as well as about 20 of their forum groups. I was a member of Mastermind Talks for 5 years, a member of Strategic Coach for 7 years, a member of Genius Network for 7 years. I have been to 3 Baby Bathwater events, a couple of War Room events, and 2 or 3 Wayfinders events. So I've been in a lot of these communities. And as I mentioned, I do run the COO Alliance and have done for the last 6 years, and then also just launched the Ops Spot. So let me give you the key things that you can do to get the most out of whatever community you're in. Number 1, really show up as someone to actually contribute. I know you're joining a community to learn, but you actually want to show up to these communities to give. What I've noticed in every community that I've ever been in, it takes about 6 months to a year to shed a little bit of that imposter syndrome, right? We all show up thinking that everyone else in the group is so much smarter than I must be. I remember when I joined the Entrepreneurs Organization, I was terrified for about the first year. And then after about the first year, I was like, wow, I have a lot to add here. I still have a lot to learn, but I also had a lot to add. So my big recommendation is try to shed that imposter syndrome very early and try to show up trying to contribute and to help other people. Because remember, if everyone in your mastermind group or your EO or your YPO chapter, et cetera, if everyone is showing up to learn, who is there to actually help? And it's often a series of different ideas being shared. So it might be something that you're sharing, something that Kelly is sharing, something that Bob is sharing, and those 3 ideas kind of have sex and they become the idea that somebody else was really looking for. So don't worry about if your idea maybe doesn't cover everything. Just show up looking to share and you'll get a lot more out of it. Number 2, show up being very vulnerable. Show up and just saying, hey, I suck at this. I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't know how to do this. I'm struggling with this. Our company is struggling. I'm struggling in my family life. Whatever it is, a little bit of the speed of the leader becomes the speed of the group. And vulnerability is that speed of trust, right? The more vulnerable you get inside of any CEO group, the more the rest of the group is going to get vulnerable. And that's when you get into the really good stuff that everybody's really going to be able to learn from. Number 3, show up at every single meeting. Even if the speaker at one of the events that you're going to be attending is someone that you've seen before. I've had people that have seen me speak 4 or 5 times and still leave with 9 pages of notes. True story. A lot of people have left with multiple pages of notes after seeing me speak 3 or 4 times. So if you already have seen the speaker, or maybe it's a speaker coming in to speak on marketing and you run a marketing agency, well, this might be the meeting that you show up for where you can help 7 other people. So show up at every meeting, even if you've already seen the speaker or you know that content, because maybe this is your chance to contribute. You'll also make and deepen the relationships with all of the people that are in your CEO group or in your entrepreneur group. So even by showing up to that one event, that might become the relationship or 2 that are really going to supercharge you and your business over the next number of years. Is just not a lot of time, right? If you think about the COO Alliance as an example, we have 1 3-hour event every month. Well, that 3-hour event, if you divide it into the number of normal work hours in a week, right? If you work 40 hours a week times 52 weeks of the year, 36 hours of COO Alliance events, right? 3 hours times 12 divided by the 2,040 hours, I think it is, over the course of a year that you're working is only 1.7% of your work time. That still gives you 98.3% of the time to be busy and working in your business. Put the time in your calendar, show up at every single event, show up at your accountability group, show up at your forum groups. Really put those into your calendar as kind of the big rocks in your calendar, and I think you'll get huge value from those. Number 4, try to be one of the leaders that's actually in the group. The ops spot, we have something called the spotters. These are the people that are actively contributing. They're running groups. They're maybe hosting video series, or in the COO Alliance, we have members that are in their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year that are there actively contributing, and they're the moderators of their accountability groups. If you can show up in whatever CEO group you're in and become part of the board, become part of a forum, become part of a committee, you'll get a lot more out of it because it also challenges your leadership skills to be a leader of your peers, right? Now you're not leading people that report to you that have to say yes. You're leading a whole bunch of other CEOs as well. So it's really critical. Number 5, if they have any of the optional events, like the in-person events we have for the COO Alliance, our COO Connects, we host those at MIT. We're holding one in Vancouver. Show up at those, right? If your EO or YPO chapter, if there's a global event, a GLC or a university or any of the retreats or forum retreats where you can get away, go to those as well, because by being away, immersed in those optional events, you actually really do deepen those relationships as well. When you go to an event or when you show up at an event, sit with the people that you don't know. Try to resist the urge to always keep going back and sitting with those same 5 people. I know over the years at the COO Alliance, we've had a number of members that keep coming, and we force them to sit at different tables just for that purpose, right? We don't want them always sitting with the same people that they always get to know, because that'll happen organically in the hallways and over drinks, maybe over breakfast. But try to really force yourself at lunch and dinner to sit with other people, because that again will really increase the amount of learning and connections that you get out of whatever entrepreneur or CEO group that you're in. Next one is to teach people. When you get back to your company, let's say it's a COO Alliance event and it's the 3-hour event, when you show up the next day back at your normal company, teach people in your company 3 things at least, maybe 5 things that you've learned from that last event. By teaching other people quickly, it helps solidify the ideas that you're getting. So I recommend that our COO members debrief with their CEO, that they also debrief with their leadership teams and share some of those ideas and share some of that wisdom. And that really starts to drive home some of those ideas as well. Number 8, if I ever go away to an optional event, like an in-person event, maybe it's our COO Connect that's happening at MIT, I make a list of all the big ideas that I've had, and then I come up with a top 10 list, because maybe I'll have 60 ideas over the course of a 2.5-day COO Alliance event or a YPO GLC. I'll make a list of all those ideas, and I'll summarize that list of 60 down to maybe the 10 big ideas that I've come away with. And then I'll try to put a dollar value beside each of those big ideas. I always find if I put a dollar value, quantify the idea. Maybe it's I need to fire somebody. Well, that might save me 120 grand. Or maybe it's a relationship that might make us 500,000. I try to come up with the top 10 big ideas that if we put those in place, how much money will it save us? How much money will it make us? And that really kind of gives me a good sounding board to go back and share with the CEO or share with my CFO as to why we're going to these events. It also does force me to get a little bit of these actions or activities, projects kind of into motion. And I guess I'll wrap with this one. When you're showing up at one of these events, make it a point to try to meet 1 or 2 new people. At every single event, try to meet 1 or 2 new people. And then make a list of all the people that you've been meeting and what they're strong at. So as I've been a member of the Genius Network and Strategic Coach and EO, et cetera, over the years, I have a list in all of my contacts of all the really smart people that I've met. And in the notes section, I put the word mentor, and then I list 3 or 4 areas that they're really strong at. So as an example, I met Jonathan Kaiser, who is in YPO. I have Jonathan in my notes. It says mentor, YPO, and then it says real estate, and it says family, because he's got, 6 or 7 kids. He's incredible. Another one, Max Hansen, YPO, EO, strong at recruiting, strong at culture. He's on the board of Conscious Capitalism. So that's the way that you're actually going to be able to keep track of everyone that you meet through these entrepreneur groups and be able to supercharge those relationships going forward. Hope this is really powerful. There are lots more tips below. Keep watching the videos, keep sharing the videos. Make sure you subscribe so you get notified when I keep dropping all these free bombs for you as well. Hopefully you get a lot more out of your relationships, a lot more out of your masterminds than you've ever gotten before. And if you do run a business where you get at least 5 million or greater, get your second in command into the COO Alliance, and also get everybody that works for you in operations, regardless of the size you are. You can get 4, 5, 7 people to join the ops spot. So I would have that as well. All right, don't stop now. Click here to keep going. There's lots more videos here with more insights for you. So keep growing.